that you've done your primary and secondary data workshop, we can go on and look at this a bit further. First of all, what is primary and secondary data? Secondary data is information that's readily available for you. It exists somewhere and was collected by someone else for maybe a different, or normally a different purpose as well. Maybe someone's done a similar research, market research as you, but maybe for another product or service. And it's normally cheap, because nowadays with the internet you can just download it. You do that for your research, you do for your assignments as well. It's not always quite right. Some of the information might be valid for you, but other stuff might not be, information might not be valid for you. And it's readily available. The sources include already published reports, survey analysis, news articles, government statistics, and other market analysis. It also is a wide range of online resources such as databases, search engines, news groups, forums, press archives, chat rooms, social media, university research. So all that, anything you haven't conducted yourself, is secondary research. Primary research is basically research that's collected for your specific purpose, so for your specific market research, for example. It's collected by you or for you by an outside consultancy company, for example, when you need it, and it's your own data. It's expensive because it takes time. You need to pay someone maybe to do it. You need to maybe pay your focus group or whoever to attend and things like that as well. It's very slow because it takes time. Not everyone can do it at the same time. You can't have 10 focus groups in one day. You might stand around in the street somewhere handing out questionnaires. You might use online questionnaires. Again, social media. It takes a long time, but it's very accurate because actually you're asking your target audience the questions where you want your answers to. And the methods include interviews, focus groups, surveys, observations, mystery shoppers, chat rooms, and direct marketing, which is a two-way communication here then as well. Now, the secondary data can come from internal or external sources, so there could be sales figures, which obviously are obtained internally, customer satisfaction surveys, which are obviously very informative, advertising spend and the effectiveness of the adverts, customer databases, or previous research studies. External sources are journals, periodicals, anything the government publishes on trends or policies, regulations, research agencies, so if you look at Keynote, Mori, Mintel, and any other published reports that are out there. But as I said, secondary data might not actually target your specific need, what you are looking for. So some of the information might be usable, but some of the information might not apply to your clientele, might not apply to your target market, might not apply to your segment, to where you're positioning yourself either. There are quite a few benefits, obviously, to secondary data as well. It helps you to clarify what are my research requirements, what am I actually looking for, what do I need to do. Comes up with questions as well that you might want to ask, that you might haven't thought about asking. It answers some of the needs, so maybe there are some questions you might not have to ask anymore. It then obviously also guides you in interpreting your primary data, because you will then apply your primary data to your secondary data once you've conducted your primary research. It provides comparisons, as I said. Either one person could say something, another person might have a completely different result, or they might have the same result, or you might find out something completely different in your primary research. It provides information that you can't obtain through primary research. It's faster and less expensive to collect, because all you need to do nowadays normally is save the files. Annual reports are very often readily available for you as well. It provides guidance, sets parameters, suggests methodology, so how can you approach your primary research, so you might come up with some new ideas there. It highlights early problems, and the internet can be used. So, you've got access to a lot of secondary data. Problem is you might have too much access to too much secondary data. Not everything you want is available. Or you might not be subscribed to everything you want, because a lot of the websites you have to pay, and you probably know that for when you're trying to access your data for writing your reports. Can you apply it to your research? Is it valid to your research? Is it accurate? If data is more than 5 years old, and sometimes actually even more than 3 years old, it's not. How accurate is it? Can you actually still use it? Is it reliable? How often is it being collected? And then how did people obtain it as well? And where does it come from? Are the sources reliable as well? Is it complete? Are there any biases? Is it objective as well? And do you have to pay £1,000 to get a Mintel or Mori or Keynote report, or is it actually free? And the important thing is you only have to use meaningful data, something that you can actually apply to your work, that means something to you, and that you can use, and you can use for your market research, or to help you with your market research as well. Now, when you want to evaluate secondary data, is the data you want available? Can I afford it? Is it within our budget? What format is it in? Is it a 500-page report, or do you get an executive summary somewhere? Is it written properly? So things like that. And again, does it apply to when you need it, for what you need it? How is it still current? And then if yes, and it's the same again when you write your work for assignments, always go to original source if you can, because you get much more information there, and people then, when they read your report or when you do your presentations, realize you've actually made the effort to do the research as well. And look at who published the study. Is it just someone somewhere, or is it actually an academic who's done research on this for years? Is it a market research company? Stuff like that. What's the purpose? So there are other things, when was the data collected? So again, time frame, and how was it collected? So how did they get the information? How did they get here look at the primary research as well. And now when you then look at your primary research, first of all, let's look at your quantitative research, which is basically it's a structured approach with a certain amount of the population that you want to interview that is relevant to your study as well, and you collect statistical data which give insights into behavior, motivation, and attitudes. So what you would look at here, for example, or what it does is it's very structured, because you get your numbers, you get your statistics, you don't get any anecdotal data, you get exactly what you want. It involves large samples and is aimed at producing data that is statistically significant. As I just said, you get your numbers. It's statistically analyzed, and results can be expressed numerically, so in tables, graphs, things like that. It quantifies behaviors and attitudes, so how many people, for example, book online, how many people book online, or go to the travel agent first and then book online, stuff like that. It's more easily replicated and comparable, so if someone's done a similar study, your statistics that you collect are then easier compared to what's been done before than anecdotal data. It's easier to analyze than qualitative data, because you do not have as much information and as much, useless information there as well. And examples are customer spend, frequency of purchase, market size, gender or how gender behavior as well, demographic behavior, stuff like that. And the methods are surveys, face-to-face, telephone, online surveys, things like that. Other ways to conduct primary or to collect primary data are observations, covert or overt. Where covert, obviously your sample doesn't know that you're watching them. Overt is when you are involved in when the people know that you're doing the research, you're involved in the group. There are obviously a lot of ethical considerations there as well. And then you've got mechanical ones like CCTV, online discussions, blogs, stuff like that. And then you've got your survey, as I said, you've got them by mail, email, internet, telephone, face-to-face. So there are lots of ways on how you can get your primary data there as well. It's very time-consuming, collecting primary data, as we said before. If you need to do some of and then you've got focus groups and interviews as well. Whereas they are more qualitative than quantitative, because interviews, obviously, they're very in-depth. You get an understanding of motivations, behavior, why do people do things. So it's all anecdotal, and you have to then pick out the important information. And when you do your interviews, when you do them face-to-face, obviously you can see how people behave as well. Now, if you ever need to do research, there are some useful websites here. So you've got the British Market Research Association, Market Research Society, then you've got some other ones here as well, and also so they give you good information. And also look at Maury, Mintel, and Keynote, but they are very expensive. Although through LeadsMed you do have access to these. And these are just some resources I used. Okay, that's it with regard to your market research. I will now, the next bit is a workshop on data and information.